All right, so next up we have William Vaughan, the William Vaughan. How many of you have seen this gentleman's videos out there? All 504 of them this year, or last year, between 2 years now, I guess. Yeah. He's on a roll, he's on fire. Currently working as a senior production manager at New Balance. He's also the founder of Pushing Points, which makes a lot of great kits and plugins for MODO, most infamously Mop Booleans and Polystene, I would say, probably the two big ones out there today. And he's going to take you through a little story on why he chooses MODO for all the various different things that he does. He does a lot of different things besides sleep, which I can't figure out when he does that. So take it away, William.
Thank you. So when the Foundry asked me to speak, I wanted to do this topic of why MODO, because it's a question I get asked a lot. There are a lot of options out there, right? And when it comes down to which tool to use, everybody has their preferences. And I've been using MODO for several years to create 3D assets. And so this is just a small little collection of some of the assets. Of course, being a 3D artist at New Balance, I work on all these characters. I'm sorry. I work on the shoes there, but I also work on characters and things like that. But at New Balance, we're creating 3D visualization of shoes. Well, why use MODO for that? Well, what I want to do is kind of step through why I think MODO is why I know MODO is the right tool for us, and why I highly recommend MODO to others. So, one of the first reasons why I recommend MODO is because of its usability. And that's just another way of saying it's easy to use. But more important than being easy to use, it's also quick to learn. And of course, it's fun to use as well, but none of that really matters if it doesn't have the power, right? If you can learn it really fast, but you can't get your work done, it kind of doesn't matter. And so I wanted to show this as an example because the 3D production team is growing at New Balance. We're currently hiring, so you'll want to talk with us later if you're interested. But we just hired, about a month ago, we hired 4 junior artists. And I wanted to show 2 examples of the work that was put together. The first one on the left was created in a week. So the way we get them started is we put them on an actual project. So within a week, this is what one of the artists put together. And on the right, in about a week and a half, one of the other artists put together. And so quickly, we were able to get them up and running and producing the visualizations that we need to use at New Balance. Part of the reason why we can get somebody up to speed really fast is the interface. Of course, you're looking at the interface the whole time you're using the software. And it's just intuitive. It's easy to navigate. You have quick access to all the features. And of course, you can customize it to however you want to work. Now, this is what was one of the big drawing points for me when I was getting into MODO. It was like, oh man, look at that interface. This is going to be easy to work with. And they keep improving it. So in MODO 12, they introduced this new workflow that every time I think I kind of know everything I need to know about MODO, they just keep making it better, and they speed up my workflow. So in this case, instead of traditionally in MODO, you would have several different layouts. So if you want to work on texturing, well, you'd go over, say, to the render tab. If you want to work on a rig, you'd go up to the setup tab. UV, you go to the UV tab. Here in the beta layout, I can stay in one layout and quickly access all of my tools. So even though it was a simple click to get to another layout, just traveling the mouse across the screen was a lot of work, right? It just adds up time. So this is one of my favorite new features of, in 12, they keep introducing all these new features. You saw Flex Fuse looks amazing. But right now in 12, one of my favorite features is this, just because when you work in a piece of software, you're going to find that sometimes it's the little things like this that really matters, and it's that they are really seeing what the artists are doing with the tools. Hank mentioned it. He had a great slide I wish I could have stole from him with the Swiss Army knife. But MODO is known for modeling, and of course, so that's a big draw for the robust modeling tools. Everything from selection sets, action centers, and of course, more tools than you can think of to choose how you want to work. I tend to use a handful of tools. So for something like this, I might use about 4 or 5 tools. But then if I then need to work on something that calls for a different tool, I've got a whole library of tools to work with. I'm going to touch base on a few specific ones. The topology pin tool, I think, is another really good example where they're really thinking about what the artist is going to do with the tool. The topology pin tool is one of several tools of working with, when you're doing retopo work. But what I found is, as excited as I was when I first was introduced to all those other options, what I found is I really only need one tool. And it's the topology pin tool. In that, I can extend, I can add loop slices, I can remove them, I can do mass edits with fall off, all with one tool. And there's several tools, or more than several, there's just many tools in MODO that allow you to stay within one tool to get a lot of work done. Procedural modeling, we saw a little bit of that. Ed gave a great demo of FlexFuse. Mesh fusion for real-time Booleans, the procedural Booleans, UV transform. Basically, the idea of procedural modeling is that everything remains live. So in the world that I live in, and most people in any industry using 3D, you're going to do a lot of changes, right? And so the idea that you don't have to fully commit, doing something like this is using a feature called UV transform. Doing something like this has always been, in my opinion, a pretty trivial task to do it once, knowing that you never have to make a change. We have to make changes. So it's nice knowing that with the procedural modeling tools that have been introduced, that we don't have to worry about committing. We don't have to do that sign off and say, okay, nothing's going to change, right? Because we already know, even if they say nothing's going to change, it's going to change. This is where usually people are like, oh no, he's going to talk about UVs. I don't like talking about UVs. I don't like doing UVs. Anybody that's ever told me that they like doing UVs, I think they're lying, or they don't do good UVs, right? Because it's a means to an end, right? I'm waiting for the day that I come to SIGGRAPH and there's this new technology that I don't have to UV anything. But wait, we do have to UV things. Fortunately, it's not scary for me anymore. One of the things that I love about UVing in MODO is that there are UV-specific tools. So I'm going to just show an example here with this head, a standard unwrap tool, and then I can use a relax tool. In this case, it's got one of my favorite features where I can place pins, and with those pins, I'm able to interactively change the shape. So that's a UV-specific tool. But where I think MODO really shines with UVs is I'm not limited to UV-specific tools. Here I'm using a standard fall-off tool, and I'm going to use the scale tool. So I can get the geometry of the face to be a little larger. And then I can also go in and work with the sculpting brushes. So I'm not, even though there are specific tools for UVing, I'm not limited to those tools. I can go and use any of the tools in MODO to work on my UVs. And then when I don't have a specific tool that I need, I can easily make one. And in this case, using the tool pipe, I'm not talking about scripting. This is very artist friendly. So if you find that you, on a regular basis, you use, say, the move tool, and you like to change the action center and change a fall off, and you're finding yourself doing that, well, after you use it, well, you got to go shut those things off. But if you take advantage of the tool pipe and create a custom tool, now all you have to do is tie that to a hotkey and fire that hotkey off. When you drop that tool, everything gets shut off. So this was the kind of an introduction for me as an artist. I always tell people I'm not a technical person, and they say I can't say that anymore, but I still see myself as an artist. This is a great way to get into creating custom tools. And then you can take it to the next level, with macros and scripts. For those of you that are new to the idea, a macro is you're just recording your actions, right? And you can play those actions back. So that if you do 6 steps and you know you're going to do those 6 steps over and over and over again, why do those 6 steps when you could just do it once? So MODO has gives you the ability to just record yourself and create a macro. And then you can take it to the next level, which is Python scripting, right inside of the software. A few years ago, the idea of scripting didn't make sense to me at all. But because it's so easy to do in MODO, if you want to know what command you need to fire, it's listed right there. If you don't know where to access something, you can go and go through the process and then just look at all the commands that were fired. So it's a lot of my scripting is a lot of copying and pasting, which I'm good at that. So what started off as just a way of wanting to speed up my workflow kind of became an addiction, because once you start shaving off steps and those steps start adding up, you end up with more and more of a collection of tools, and these were all built inside of MODO using the scripting layout. Everything from the Hatchet collection, which is a set of like 150 scripts or something like that. It's Hatchet because I was told that I hack everything together. And so I said, yeah, sure, I do. But it works. To Polystyrene, which is being shown on the side there, which is just a really quick way. It was originally created because I love character modeling, and I actually like modeling ears, and most people I know, they don't like modeling ears. So I said, I'm going to write a script that just makes an ear for you. And then once I did that, I said, oh wait, this could work for anything. So I'm using an example here for using Polystyrene to just drop in facial features on a sub-D mesh, keeping it all quad, nice clean loops. But you can actually use it for anything. You just build a preset, right? And that comes into presets. So another great thing about working with MODO is that you might find that you end up using certain elements over and over again. Maybe it's a mesh, maybe it's a material, maybe it's just a profile that you use to bevel with. So it's drag and drop in MODO. You can build a library. So here's a library of bottles, and you just drag and drop them in your scene. Now these are fully textured and ready to render. It's a kit called the Bottle Kit by Chris 3D. But not only can I have fully textured meshes, I could, earlier I showed in one of the screens off to the side, I had my material library. So I can just drag and drop materials. So I build something and I go, I want to put some kind of knitted material on there. I just drag and drop it. And so every time we build, at New Balance, if we build a new material or we build a new lacing component or something like that, we just add it to our preset library. But beyond just drag and drop for placing these presets in 12, they introduced the ability to drag and drop to create the preset. And I already thought that creating the preset was an easy process. And they made it that much easier. So if you've got say a profile that you're using to bevel something, and you go, man, I'm gonna use this more than once, you just drag and drop it into the preset browser, and you get a preset. I think that's pretty amazing. We're talking a lot about modeling, but I always have to point out rendering. Everything that we render at New Balance, everything that I render for my own work, is done in program with the MODO render engine. Not only is the render engine easy to produce good work, it's tied to the shader tree, which I was talking with Greg last night about it, and it's one of those things that it's so similar to layers in Photoshop that getting a designer or an illustrator into MODO to be able to produce good-looking renders, it's actually pretty easy, and the shader tree does play a role in that. So I see MODO as a complete 3D production package. It's got everything I need to do the things that I want to do to produce the 3D assets that I do. It's what we use to produce all the assets at New Balance. But I've actually left off one of my favorite features of MODO. And it's actually what drew me to MODO in the first place, which is the community. Every 3D program, every software program, anything has a community now online. but the MODO community is pretty amazing. There's so many free resources. If there was ever a time to learn anything, now's the time. But with MODO, you've got the standard like community forums. That's kind of a common thing. But recently, and I don't know who made this call, but I'm very happy about it. They just released this exclusive premium content. It's hours and hours of professional content that we used to have to pay for. So I kind of want my money back. No, and it's all free. Again, a great resource for somebody wanting to get started. MODO Geeks TV is a YouTube channel that has free videos that come out. Slack is probably my favorite thing on this list right now because it's a chatting community, but I still try and explain this to people, and they think I'm kind of exaggerating. But not only do you have access to a lot of MODO users on this Slack channel, but you have access to to guys like Tor Frick and Julian and other people that are using it in production. But then you have access to some of the developers. This is the thing that blows my mind, is that I'll go and I'll start having a conversation about some MODO-related topic, and 2 or 3 of the devs pop in, right? And then somebody else is asking something about they want to create some custom setup for the UI, and the developer that wrote the UI pops in and answers the question. To me, that's priceless. There's also Discord, Pixel Fondue, which produces a lot of content. It's all free content, whether it's source files or videos. Warren Marshall, Tor Frick, who you're gonna meet next, and much more. And then of course I had to put a slide to show off the Vaughan in 60 seconds because last week I surpassed 500 videos, and my original goal was just do 100. And then I said I'm gonna do one for each day, so I'll do 365. And then they just keep coming. So this is all free content. So pretty much every day, not this week because I'm not working on my computer this week. There's a free quick video to show either a tip or a trick, or to show a particular feature. Most of them are to answer questions from Slack, Discord, and the community forums. And wanted to add before I wrap up again that we are hiring. At New Balance, we use MODO for everything that we do for our 3D visualization, and the team is growing. To me, it's an exciting opportunity to get to work with other artists and take their 2D designs and bring them into the world of 3D. And if you'd like to see more examples of what I do with MODO, or you want some free content or some free training videos and things like that, you can visit me on pushingpoints.com, or you can visit me on my ArtStation page. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you've kind of left out community, your contribution to community, and really, on behalf of the entire community, just a huge thanks to you, because it is so great. And it is a large part attributed to everyday contributions from you and many people like yourself. So thank you, really, hugely.